Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to What Shall We Do Next. And today we are back with another movie review, another Titanic movie review. As you guys know, I said we're in April now, so I'm going to be looking at a lot of Titanic movies. And I watched a very unusual one last night, and I kind of liked it. Hear me out. Just hear me out. I know this is going to sound crazy. Titanic is something that means a lot to me. And going into this, I thought I could look at it in either way. Like, I could be offended by it, which I'm not gonna. Like, I don't usually get offended by things. I will always see the humor side of things rather than be offended. But I thought it could be, like, upsetting in a this is distasteful, it's kind of disrespectful way. Or I could look at it in a kind of humorous way, which is exactly what I did. I went into this expecting it to be so cringe that it would be funny. And it was surprisingly, I don't want to say good. I don't feel like the word good is the right word to use. I want to say I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed sitting through it and watching it, where Titanic 2, the one I reviewed last time, I was bored. Like, I hated every second of it. The other one was just like, there was nothing going for it, really. The only thing that I got out of the last one was that, again, it was kind of funny to me. But that one wasn't trying to be funny. That one was trying to be a ripoff of the original 1997 James Cameron one. You could just tell they were, like, copying scenes and stuff like that, and tried to have this love story between the ship's owner and his ex-girlfriend, and trying to have a Jack and Rose situation with them at the end. And it's just like, I didn't care about either of them. There was none of that connection that you felt with Jack and Rose. You didn't feel that with these characters. You literally could care less if they died. This movie, however, again, there wasn't anyone that I was kind of, like, rooting for, or anybody that I was feeling attached to in any way. Anyway, this movie that I watched is called Titanic 666, or also known as Titanic Rises. And it's also a sequel to the last one, so it's also known as Titanic 3. It is a supernatural horror type of movie about the Titanic. So just make of that information what you will. Also, I am rocking my Titanic shirt today. I love this thing so much. Look how cool this is. But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about the movie, and then we can talk a little bit more about, like, what I thought of it personally. So Titanic 666, also known as Titanic Rises and Titanic 3, is a 2022 American supernatural horror film directed by Nick Lyon and produced by The Asylum. It is a sequel to Titanic 2 from 2010 and stars Jamie Bamber and Keisha Sharp. It was released on Tubi in the United States on April 15th, 2022, on the 110th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. The film received generally unfavorable reviews, and users on social media noted the film's similarity to Titanic 1997 and Studio 66. And basically, the plot of the movie is 110 years after the sinking of the original, the Titanic III begins its maiden voyage to the original wreck site, where strange things begin to occur after the ship's arrival. The movie is also starring Keisha Sharp as Captain Celeste Rhodes, Jamie Bamber as Professor Hal Cochrane, Lydia Hurst as Edina Bess, who is revealed to be the great-granddaughter of Captain Edward Smith, Anna Lynn McCord as Mia Stone, and Joseph Gatt as Brian Andrews. Now, the negatives about this movie is it is very silly. It's not a film that you can take seriously, and it is, again, like Titanic 2, it's got very bad CGI, but it does have much more of it. They did a good job in that sense. Like, you actually get to see different perspectives of the Titanic sinking, the ice field that they're in, a lot more icebergs than you see in even James Cameron's movie, where it seems like there's only one. You see a lot of different angles that even James Cameron's movie didn't show. However, it still did look very bad CGI, just like Titanic 2. Just that there was a lot more of it. Like, the external shots of the Titanic just looked very fake, but it was like, I appreciated that they put more of that in there instead of, like, the second one where you just saw a couple of shots of it here and there. Again, the movie is very silly, and they did make the same oops with the hats. I mentioned this about Titanic 2. They had all of the Titanic officers wearing, the ship officers wearing ship captain hats. Like I mentioned to you guys in that video, this is a ship's officer's hat. This is a White Star Line ship officer hat. The Titanic captain had these leaves right here. He had them around the brim of the hat. The ship's officers did not. So when you become captain, they give you a hat that has leaves on the front. Now, they made the same mistake in this movie too, except they had I think it was second officer, this Asian character, I can't remember his name, but he was like, I think first or second officer, and he had the captain hat on. It was a black hat like this, but it had the leaves on the front, the gold leaves, and the actual captain, who was a woman, she had just a normal ship's officer's hat, and he was calling her captain and stuff like that, and she was telling him off and giving him orders, and he was like, yes, captain. So I was like so confused, but I guess not many people would pick up on that detail, but I did. I went into this thinking it was going to be such a clusterfuck of like just so silly, and honestly, it had a pretty good story. So basically, there is this weird, crazy girl, she's like a witch, and she sneaks into the Titanic III. It literally says Titanic III on it, and it looks more believable than the one in the second one. In this one, they actually use like CGI of like the Titanic, and they did a pretty good job of making it look like people were on the Titanic. In Titanic II, it was just like Queen Mary. Everything was just Queen Mary. They even CGI'd the outside of the ship as Titanic II, but it was clearly Queen Mary. In this one, they tried to at least make it look like the Titanic. I will say, though, the captain of this ship, she did a pretty good job, I'll be honest about that. Like, I genuinely thought she seemed likable, like she was a likable character. But another thing about this movie is, again, the same mistake Titanic 2 made. There's literally like no more than 40 actors in this entire movie, so you got like no extras at all. Keep in mind, a grand ship that can like hold thousands of people, and there's like the same handful of people that you see throughout the whole movie. Two of the main characters were this like obnoxious influencer couple who were like vlogging the thing, and they were just being like the stereotypical influencer, like just holding a selfie stick with a phone on it, and they're talking like, we're vlogging, we're going on the Titanic 3, this is gonna be insane, guys, hit the like and subscribe. Like the very stereotypical influencer, that's what they were. They were like the main characters. But anyway, going back to this girl, she sneaks into the Titanic in some luggage. She's like a stowaway, but she's not in there to like illegally migrate or anything like that. She's just on the ship because the ship's going and it's making a stop off at the original wreck site, and they're gonna like have a moment of silence, throw some wreaths in the water and stuff like that. And when the Titanic gets there, this girl, she's in the storage part of the Titanic 3, and she starts putting on like this witchcraft. She starts doing witchcraft and summoning the dead of all the Titanic victims. And she does this because she finds it wrong that everyone's like picking, and I guess it makes a pretty good point, everyone's picking away at things from the Titanic, bringing up things that were other people's belongings, putting it in museums, selling it for financial gain, profit, everything like that, and making movies out of it. And they even talk about that a little bit too. Ironically, it's a movie, but in the movie someone says, you're just making like media and you're making movies and entertainment at the cost of like the legacy of these people who actually died, the suffering they went through, and now you're making a movie about it. Somebody said that to the influencers, and they were saying, well, you're collecting all of this stuff. And the guy, even this like guy who was like, I think he was like the owner of the ship as well, he had like the ultimate Titanic collection, memorabilia collection. He even had Captain Smith's wedding ring, and he was wearing it himself, and he was trying to like sell it to somebody. Or no, he wasn't going to sell that, but he was selling all these other artifacts from the actual wreck. This girl, who turns out to later be Captain Smith's daughter, she great-granddaughter, she summons the spirits of the dead, and they all come back to this Titanic 3, and they're angry because like everyone's just making money and making entertainment from this disaster that happened. And yeah, basically the spirits of the dead all show up. Even Captain Smith shows up, and they all have like this grave encounters, like open mouth face with black hollow holes for eyes, and they're all like like doing that same thing that you see in grave encounters. Very poor like jump scares and very poor effects, but it was just a fun watch. Like, I genuinely got into it. It had a good story. It was a little silly here and there, and of course they had to make the Titanic 3 hit an iceberg, right? Like, they wouldn't make a Titanic movie without hitting an iceberg like they did in the second one as well. So everything, like the ghosts make the power go out on the ship, and then they're calling for help, and there's another ship that's 2 hours away coming to the rescue. And this ship, the Titanic, it can't even like stop because it's just adrift and they can't even steer away or anything like that. Everything's gone wrong. Everything's stopped working on the ship, and they again hit an iceberg exactly the same way the original Titanic did, all along the starboard side, and it starts to sink. And you see the captain a few times. He's jump scaring people. You also see the band who play, and this is one part that I did enjoy. As soon as the movie starts, you're greeted with the night of the real Titanic sinking. Very different than what you see in James Cameron's movie. A lot of inaccuracies to what really happened. Basically, the ship is like sinking, and you hear "Nearer, My God, to Thee," which is the hymn that the band played as the ship was sinking. The ship sinks. You basically see everyone scrambling and running and everything like that, just like in the movie. But then the ship sinks in its entirety. It doesn't split in half. It still has all 4 smokestacks. Even until the moment it hits the ocean floor, you still see it's like entirely intact, and it's got all 4 smokestacks. So whoever made this movie didn't do research on what happened to the Titanic, but you're kind of watching the night of 1912 Titanic sinking. That's how the movie starts. And then there's a girl lying on an upturned lifeboat, and basically she gets dragged into the water by like a zombie. Then it cuts to like the future. That's basically how it starts. But I did like that they added like a little bit of the real Titanic story at the beginning, including the "Nearer, My God, to Thee," which when the band comes back as ghosts, they're also like, they're still like these weird like zombie looking ghosts, and they're like playing the violins and stuff like that, and it's playing "Nearer, My God, to Thee," and then the music at the end of the movie is also "Nearer, My God, to Thee" as well, which I did like that. That was pretty enjoyable. Another thing that was kind of silly about this movie, which was just a little detail that I picked up on, was these lifeboats that were on this Titanic. They were literally like 4-man fishing boats, like a little boat that was like, you could probably fit 4 men in it. That was the lifeboats, not like the 70-man lifeboats that the Titanic had in James Cameron's movie and in real life. They were a lot more accurate. This one just kind of looked like those little fishing rowboats that you have. It was kind of silly. Yeah, there's a few jump scares here and there, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it, really. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I guess it was a little disrespectful. It didn't come across as like over. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be going into it, honestly. And like I said, it was pretty enjoyable. It was kind of a goofy watch, but it wasn't really scary. It was just kind of like interesting. I found myself actually enjoying watching it, unlike Titanic 2. So I would recommend it if you want to see a goofy Titanic horror movie. Definitely check it out. The great-granddaughter of Captain Smith, she's just the one that like does this curse and summons all the dead, and then the dead try to recreate the night that the original Titanic sank and kill everybody on board this one, which I don't think they would do that in real life. Like, even if they were angry and trapped or whatever the situation is with their spirits in the afterlife, I think they're just people. They're not evil. They're not gonna like, they would never wish anybody else to go through what they went through, kind of thing. But the movie kind of makes it look like they're kind of scary zombie demons. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about that one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash a like on it, and I'll see you right back here in the next one. Peace out and chase your dreams.
Thank you for watching my video, and don't forget to subscribe and follow me on my social media, or I will f***ing die. Oh yeah!